Here we are at the wonderful Jetavana monastery. Beautiful place to be, and I would say an excellent place for meditation. Specifically because this is also the place where the Buddha used to spend a lot of his rain retreats and gave most of his teachings. And it doesn't matter that maybe there's a lot of people around. That's not actually too important. What is way more important is the power of the energy that you can still feel that is here. And somebody asked me, how is it possible that somebody who has gone into paranirvana, so after the realization of Nibbana in himself, he had died, how can somebody like that still leave a certain amount of energy? Well, it's exactly what it says. You leave the amount of energy. You don't have to actually focus yourself on the energy, but what you do is before you depart, you concentrate at that moment, in that moment, on a certain amount of energy. And you can understand that only a Tathagata, an enlightened one, has the possibility to do so. And that's why at all these wonderful places where we have been so far, we can strongly feel the presence of the Buddha. Still here, and still very powerful. In spite of all the people, in spite of everything that happens around it, and maybe some people who might be a bit noisy, it doesn't really matter, because ultimately it is about the personal experience, what you can experience in this sphere, in this moment. And the latter is, of course, interesting because this path, which ultimately leads to enlightenment, has not got in itself as a goal the enlightenment, but there's a constant practice which will ultimately lead to such. Thriving for enlightenment is something that does not cause enlightenment. It will only make it further away. The more you run after it, the further it's away. A little bit comparable like the story of Angulimal. So ultimately, it is about your realization. And then, of course, often I get the premise from certain people that because it's a personal path in itself, that it might be selfish, might even be egotistical. Well, it's not, obviously. What is the reason for this search that will ultimately free you from this circle of rebirth and will free you from the suffering and the discontent that seems to be a part of everyday life, and now sometimes even more than ever before? Well, once you have found that path for yourself, once you have realized that path for yourself, and you have realized the happiness that can be there when you are detached from all these things that constantly make you spin through life like a free kind of rocket that just goes from one place to the other. That is not necessary anymore. You can guide yourself, and ultimately you can guide others. No need to guide others once you haven't realized it for yourself. So self-realization is of course a very basic and very important thing. How can you help others when you cannot even help yourself? And in that sense, yes, it might be viewed upon as a path that is very personal at first, but ultimately it's not. Ultimately it's a path that will enable you to help others if they will ask for it and if they so wish. Nobody can be helped, nobody can open their eyes if they are not interested in opening their eyes. So, well, I just did a short meditation, and now I am going to do a very long one, and I hope that this little talk has inspired you to also, engage with yourself and understand yourself and try to work through all the issues that are there in order to ultimately free yourself, because that's what it's about. No dogmas, no hang-ups, no set of rules that is cast in stone, but ultimately that you can free yourself. And being free is so important. Freeing yourself is actually one of the things that we all would like to be able to accomplish. Being free gives you a constant sense of happiness, free from all the entrapments of daily life. So try to free yourself, and in order to do so, please meditate, please do so. It is so important. Let nobody tell you anything else. Oh, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to work, just be. It's all very beautiful, but there is no insight and no panya, wisdom, will occur because of such a practice. So, very important to ultimately really practice for yourself, become more aware of all your attitudes and postures in life, and by doing such, free yourself. Please free yourself. It's so important and it's so delightful.